So hello and welcome back to the channel. Now today I want to talk about fight scenes in movies, martial arts in movies, because I honestly feel like Hollywood does not respect martial arts. I don't think they respect, I don't think Hollywood people really respect combat sports. Because it really feels like they just throw in action scenes, throw in fight scenes, fist fights, kung fu, whatever you want to call it, just to like jiggle keys in front of our faces so we don't get bored or something. Like for real, like sometimes like you know how I knew that Westworld had completely jumped the shark in season 3 where they started just throwing in these random fight scenes for no reason, these random gunfights for no reason. That's how I knew that show was fucking cooked. That's how I knew the dream was over. And to be fair, like I really do like action movies, or I did like action movies, until I watched a boxing match, or I watched a kickboxing match, or I watched a street fight for the first time, and then movie kung fu fight scenes just look stupid to me. All right, it looks like two guys playing patty cake for 5 minutes, and that's my cue to get up, grab a drink, get my food, take a piss because I'm just gonna be bored and come back to it, and I could probably skip that action scene and it will change nothing about the story. So really pointless action scenes in a movie just bore the shit out of me, or they annoy the shit out of me, like one of the two, sometimes both. And there's two things that I think most movies about combat sports do that really, really just boil my blood. So, number one has got to be when they just make the protagonist our hero and they make his opponent the villain, right? The opponent, the opposition is just an irredeemable asshole. They're an asshole from the start. They're an asshole to the beginning. There's no explanation. There's no backstory. They're just the protagonist. I mean, they're just the opposition. They're the opponent. So they're the bad guy. They're the villain. So if the audience is like older than 7 years old, this is a very badly written conflict. This is just bad writing. All right. It's also unrealistic because if I were to sign up for a jiu-jitsu competition, right, most of the people that are going to be my opponents are other dudes in their mid 20s to maybe late 20s who have been doing jiu-jitsu for a pretty long time, since they were like maybe teenagers or young adults, right? We probably have more in common than we do have differences. With that being said, grudge matches are popular for a reason, okay? They draw eyes for a reason. They're special because getting two guys who are at the similar level of skill, this is similar levels of competition that cannot stand each other, right? It's pretty rare. It happens, right? But there's a reason that it's rare. So that's one of the things that I just cannot get over, personally. The other thing that most martial arts or combat sports movies do is they never tie together the person's growth in skill with their growth as a person. They typically have some stuff going on in their life that gets settled or maybe doesn't, and then they have a training montage, and then they win the fight, right? But that's just not how it works, right? If you start training a martial art between the ages of 12 and 20 years old, you won't really be an expert at it, or at least you won't be at the height of your powers until you're around, 30, between 30 and 35. That is when you will have the most experience, the most skill, the most power, the most speed without, having a physical decline. That's a long time. A lot is going to change about who you are as a person as you're building your skills in this martial art. A lot in your life is going to change. You're going to meet new people. You're going to lose people in your life. A lot is going to change about your outlook on life, your perspective. A lot is going to change about the way you approach martial arts, the way you approach your style. And I just don't see a lot of movies really incorporating this kind of idea, right? It's just they train somewhere, they do more sit-ups than they did in their last fight, and then they won the fight because they were redeemed or whatever. And that's just not how it works. So with that being said, I'm going to talk about some martial arts movies, some boxing MMA movies, and talk about what I liked about them and I think what they did wrong in this sense. So Warrior, I think the drama in this movie is kind of dumb, but I think the actual MMA in there is pretty okay. It's not a bad movie. All right. It kind of does have the cardinal sin of it makes one protagonist or one character that the main guy, the main hero of the story and makes one the villain. It's not as cut and dry as that, but it's more or less that way. One guy you're really rooting for, and one guy you're not necessarily rooting against, but he's not likable in any way. Like, this character is, for the most part, just like a mopey asshole the whole time. So he's kind of just annoying when he's on screen. His backstory is badass, but his gameplay is fucking trash. All right, and some of, like, I understand his motivations, right? But I don't really understand most of the choices he makes in the movie. Like, so the reason that they're estranged. So this movie is about two brothers who both enter like a Grand Prix, a tournament in MMA, right? And the reason that they're estranged is because the plan was that their mother and these two boys were gonna run away, and leave the dad because he was an abusive alcoholic, but the older brother decided not to and stayed in that town, stayed living with the dad, because he was dating this girl who now became his wife. So the mother got sick very soon after that and died, and then this brother went to the Marines. So he's kind of still dealing with that trauma of that, and he did some. I guess I'm not gonna spoil that, if whatever. But he's like a war hero, but he's kind of a disgrace. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, honestly. Now that I say it out loud, it kind of sounds dumb. But so the brother is kind of dealing with that. At the beginning of the movie, he seems to be homeless, living in his car, and he goes back to talking with his dad and living with his dad. But it just made no sense to me why he needed his dad to be his trainer. I suppose it was inferred that his dad is like a really good wrestler, a really decorated wrestler, and that's what helped him like win like an NCAA title, which is cool. But his dad has never fought. His dad is like a 7-year-old alcoholic who's never stepped in the ring himself. And why the fuck do you need him to be your coach? Also, the other thing was like, I don't know about you guys, but if I was gonna go anywhere and staying in a hotel, especially if I was gonna be fighting the next day, I would not share a fucking hotel with my dad. I would definitely not share a bathroom with my dad. That's just a no-go. Like, I don't know what you're thinking. It doesn't matter. The fuck? Okay, even if this relationship was really good, I would definitely take the room next door. Not sleeping in, not sharing a room with not sharing a bathroom with my dad the night before a fucking MMA fight. That's kind of wild to me. But, overall, there were some dumb things in the movie, but they definitely built the world of MMA really well. They got former fighters and presenters that I could realistically see doing commentary on like an MMA event. There was a decent display of technique in the movie. There was a clear understanding of the rules and the commission and everything, so it's not bad. As far as an MMA movie, I'll give it like a 7.5. As a movie, I would give it like a 5 or 6. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. This movie is complete fucking dog shit. This movie's fucking terrible. And you know what sucks about it is that the first 5 minutes of this movie are excellent. The way that he's wearing his headphones, right? So you just hear the music, you don't hear any sound, or at least it's like very muted, quiet sound. They're just wrapping his gloves. That was a really good scene, right? The fight that starts the movie is kind of dumb. All right, it's kind of weird how like he hurts his opponent, drops him, and they're starting back up. They're giving him the 10 count with his opponent, and then his opponent is like talking to the ref and says, "Oh, I'm good, ref," and then he like punches him, which kind of makes it look like he like sucker punched him. I don't know why they filmed it like that. I suppose it was supposed to show that his opponent was hurt and didn't really know what was happening. But it came off really weird. It kind of made him look like a little bit of a cheater. So I don't know why they did that. But the scene right after that was also really good. The scene where he's talking to his wife is awesome. Because, she's talking to him, like he won the fight, he's in a good mood, but he's discombobulated, man. Like he's really punch drunk. Like he can hardly form a sentence after. And then she sees like the blood on the towel and how fucked up he got in that fight. So really good about showing the emotional weight of fighting, the emotional impact. And then it went so fucking downhill. Okay, like this character, right? I get that he's supposed to be sort of like from the streets, grew up from nothing. All he had was fighting. All he had was boxing. That's what this way earned his money, right? He's not very educated. He's not very smart. I get that. He's got a lot of anger issues. And then that's kind of like the core part of the story. But he doesn't fucking learn anything throughout the entire movie. His character does not change. It does not evolve. At all. Like, this character literally acts more like a fucking rabid dog than he does a human. I'm not serious. It's actually kind of gross. It's actually kind of pathetic writing. The other thing that annoys me about this movie, well, a good thing about this movie, it actually gets the politics of boxing down, right? It actually gets the way the sport kind of moves behind the scenes kind of down, right? Where After the fight, right, he's getting taunted by someone, a contender in his weight class, and saying like, "Oh, you're ducking me," which is common. The dude's calling him out, and then he's talking to his manager, and then he tells his manager, "Yeah, I want that fight," and he's like, "Yeah, no, wait on it." His manager tells him, two for the bank and one for the belt, basically telling him like, "Hey, like fight these fighters because you could probably just run through them, make some bank, and then fight this guy for your legacy." Which is what a good manager should probably say. I mean, the guy's a scumbag, you find out later on, but that kind of makes sense. But he flips the fuck out and flips like a table and whatever and causes a scene. It's like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry, man." So, his anger issues are front and center right away. But he doesn't do anything about it ever. Alright, and so many things about this movie don't make sense. Spoilers for this movie, it fucking sucks, don't watch it. Alright, so the fighter that's trying to get a fight with him is like egging him on at like some event he's doing. He did like a talk at, he did a speech at, and then he's not about to fight the dude in public, but then the dude says something about like, "Oh yeah, listen to your lady," or whatever, I don't know, some bullshit, and then he gets mad, fights the dude, a big scuffle breaks out. The friend of the fighter that's trying to get a fight with him pulls out a gun and shoots, and then hits his wife and kills his wife. So his wife dying is kind of like the inciting incident. Alright, but what made this make no fucking sense, right, was that the police asked him if he can ID the shooter. Because they need to get an eyewitness testimony and stuff like that. And he kind of like rambles on some nonsense because he's kind of, in shock, I guess. And then he obviously doesn't cooperate with the police because, he's from the streets. He's not going to do that. And then literally nothing happens legally to that guy's friend or the fighter that provoked him and caused that incident. Nothing. So basically what you're telling me is if your wife gets shot at a huge venue with a bunch of eyewitnesses, a bunch of people, security, they need the one fucking guy that's going to be hard to cooperate with because his wife just fucking died and he's probably not going to remember anything too clearly besides throwing punches and her getting shot. That's the fucking guy that your entire case rests on as law enforcement. That makes zero sense, okay? But that's not even the worst part of the movie. So later on in the movie, right, he starts losing fights. He kind of goes off the deep end. He headbutts a ref and gets suspended and all that stuff, loses his contract, makes some dumbass decisions and gets his daughter taken away into Child Protective Services. Alright, so this is like his rock bottom, whatever. And you know what he needs to do to get himself back on that horse? He goes to some random hole-in-the-wall gym in the middle of the Bronx to train for some reason. That makes no fucking sense to me at all. Like, why? So he's working with this trainer, and that's supposed to be his character development, right? And the only thing that happened in terms of him learning and becoming a better person is that his daughter gets mad at him. She doesn't really want to see him that much, right? And then the guy, Forrest Whitaker, that owns the boxing gym, tells him like, "Hey man, maybe she's going to go through some stuff, right? You might have to let her be mad at you for a bit because she's got her own trauma to deal with losing her mom and whatnot." And then he kind of accepts that, right? I think this would have been better if the daughter actually told him, like said to him, voice with words, like, "Hey, you're scary when you get angry, okay? I don't like seeing you angry. And you get angry a lot." But when mom was here, she kind of balanced you out. She calmed you down, so I never felt scared when she was around. But now she's not here, it's kind of just you being angry, and I don't like that. That would have been better, but his daughter just doesn't talk to him. She never really like shows any emotions besides anger, which is kind of fitting, I guess. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But it wasn't a whole lot of to emotionally unpack for him, right? He's supposed to get like court-ordered like anger management. Never fucking see that in the movie. Never see any therapy. Never see him working on his anger at all. The only character development he gets is just shit happening around him, right? He makes friends or he talks to this kid for 5 minutes, this teenager who's at the gym that he goes to, right? So that teen is like has some shit going on at home because he notices like that kid was wearing like the same clothes for like the past couple of days or something like that, which makes sense because he's from the streets. So he would notice small things like that most people would kind of like that would go over their head and whatnot. So he tells the Forrest Whitaker about what's going on about this kid at the gym, and then they're like, "All right, cool, I'm gonna talk to him, whatever." You find out that like that kid got killed in a domestic violence thing because his dad tried to attack his mom. And then he got caught in between or something like that, and the kid dies. And Forrest Whitaker is super sad about it. He talks with him, and they get super sad about it together. And then that's fucking it. That's literally all. I promise you, there's not any more character development than that. And I would say the worst part of this, where it seems like they tried. It seems like they at least tried to connect his emotional growth his emotional evolvement, with his evolvement as a fighter, with his skills as a fighter. But you're trying to tell me this man is supposed to be 43 fights into a professional boxing career, right? He is an active, defending champion of a major organization. And this dude who owns some rinky-dink fucking boxing gym in the middle of nowhere is the first one to tell him about fucking footwork, about fucking angles and strategy, and a head movement drill. A head movement drill. Seriously. Professional boxer. 43 fights. Beaten champions. They've been a champion. Beaten people. Knocked people out. Has not ever fucking practiced strategy. You're fucking kidding me. That shit was stupid. Shit kills me. Oh, man. Golly. Holy shit. Anyway, so Southpaw fucking sucks. And keeping in the theme of Jake Gyllenhaal being in fucking terrible martial arts movies, Roadhouse. This movie actually makes me so mad, right? And you know what's funny? I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent, right? I was actually at the event that they recorded some of the scenes of Roadhouse in. It was Alexander Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez, right? And I think they recorded the scenes for that movie in the early prelims. I got to the T-Mobile Arena during the prelims, so I missed it, right? But I'm glad I missed it, right? Because if I showed up early and I was trying to get back to my seat, grab my fucking beer, take a piss, and I fucking see Jake Gyllenhaal and some bot nobody walk into the octagon, I would feel like I got scammed. I would actually be fucking mad if I saw that. Alright? So I genuinely feel like most of this movie was just so that Jake Gyllenhaal could fucking weigh in at a UFC event and throw fake punches in the octagon. That shit was stupid. So the main turmoil of his character is that he's an ex-fighter and he agreed to fight a friend in the octagon, which happens pretty often. It's not uncommon. And then he, for some reason, sees red in this fight and accidentally kills the dude. Like refs don't fucking exist. That's fucking stupid, for one. But I'm supposed to give a shit that he accidentally killed his friend who we don't even fucking give a name. We don't fucking see them train together. We don't see if that guy has a family or a wife to leave behind, kids or anything like that. I'm supposed to fucking care about it? Seriously, that shit was fucking stupid. This movie fucking sucks. So surely with all these absolutely dog shit movies about combat sports and martial arts from the past 15 to 20 years, there has to be a few good ones, right? There has to be a few good ones. And there is. And I'm happy but also kind of sad to say that the best martial arts movie, combat sports movie that understood the growth that comes with doing a martial art, the changes someone's going to go through, is Going to the Mat, a Disney Channel original movie. I'm not kidding. I wish I was kidding. But this is one of the best. This Disney Channel original movie, teen drama, is one of the best combat sports movies I have ever seen, and it's not even fucking close. So not only is this a really good combat sports movie, it's very good disability rep too. So basically this kid right here, right, he's from New York, and he's very well adjusted there. He's blind, by the way. He's very well adjusted there. He's got a lot of friends. And he doesn't have to really go out of his way to get accommodations, right? Like, the movie starts out with him playing catch or playing baseball with his friends. And they have a special baseball that makes noise so we can tell where it is and he can like catch it and hit it and stuff, right? Really good scene. Okay, but he has to move to Connecticut with his family. He goes to he goes to a public school for the first time. So this is a huge change for him. And one of the first scenes you see for him at the public school is him dealing with like how loud it is. Like there's a bunch of people talking in this hallway, and it's just too much audio information for him to really find his way around like he normally can. What I love about this movie is that it does not put him on a pedestal just because he's disabled, right? At the start of the movie, he's actually kind of a dick to people. He's actually kind of a little bit of a rude prick. You know, this is the captain of the wrestling team, right? They don't really start off on the best foot. He like pretty much straight up like insults him, calls him like a dumb hillbilly when he first gets there. He insults a lot of people. So people have a reason to not like him, right? So later on in the movie, there's a scene where there is a fire drill. And this is just way too much noise. He's kind of used to being in a public school, the amount of chatter around, but this is way too much noise and like a stampede of people. And he drops his cane. So he has no idea where he is. He has no way to orient himself. And he gets really scared. He starts kind of like panicking a little bit. And then this guy, and at this point they don't even like each other, pulls him, like through the doors, and they stand outside. I don't think he even ever finds out that he did this for him, right? So this guy's portrayed as very stereotypical jock. And he is that way. He is very much like a jock. But he's not a dick. He's really only a dick to him because he started it. So this guy joins the wrestling team because he wants something to do. He can't really do a whole lot of other sports. And he wants something to do with his friend, played by Corbin Bleu, that they can do together and hang out after school and stuff like that. So it ties into him just trying to make friends. It ties in the teen drama really well with the combat sports, just his life. It works really well. Okay? And it also has really good expectations. Like, it's realistic about how good he can get at wrestling, how fast, in one season, basically, right? Because he wrestles the first match when I don't think he was supposed to. And he gets dogged in the first match. He's not very good because he's been wrestling for like a few months. He's not going to be good. He's not going to be all that confident in his skills. But he keeps working at it. And also what I love is that his rivals are not villains. They're not assholes for just no reason. The only kid that he has a significant beef with is the guy who's in his same weight class, and he wants to be the guy to wrestle. So they have to have like an in-house match, and he beats him. He stands on business so that he can get that spot to wrestle. And then he keeps wrestling. I think he wins a few. I can't really remember what happened. I will say the wrestling is kind of like pretty simplistic. Either someone gets pinned or they don't, which is not really how wrestling typically goes. But it's fine. It has decent technique. It has cool throws. It has good takedowns. It's actually realistic grappling. It's the training sessions are very realistic. That's what a wrestling room looks like. They fucking nailed all that shit. They nailed everything about the actual combat sport. And not only do they nail the actual representation of the sport has its, conflict with these characters. Like, this guy is kind of the stud wrestler, but he's getting a little bit too big for the weight class he's in. So he has a very important match that he needs to win. And he loses to a really good kid from another school. And his cardio is really bad because he's cutting too much weight. So not only is his wrestling becoming an issue, his school is becoming an issue, which might get him kicked off the wrestling team because he's failing Spanish. He's not like a very smart guy. He is very much like a meathead jock. So he has two problems going on in his life. This kid speaks Spanish a lot better because he lived in New York. So he's kind of used to it. He saw it a lot more growing up than someone who lives in Connecticut would. So they kind of come to an agreement where I help you with wrestling, you help me with Spanish. Great for their character development and their character growth. They earn each other's respect and they help each other, they help build each other up. I mean, it was really good. In the finale, I might not even spoil the finale for you, honestly. But it's very realistic about what he can achieve and what he needs to do. Right? It's not like he steps on the mat and he's amazing. Or he has one training montage and he just dogs everyone. Like, no, he has to build his skills. He has to build himself up. He has to build his own confidence. He has to build his own game. He has to build his own style. And that change, that success, coincides with him growing as a person. Also, another side plot I loved, okay? So he kind of starts to become the man at wrestling, He's kind of that kid. And then his friend who joined the wrestling team with him is not getting matches because he's too small. So there's not a lot of 125ers to wrestle for most meets. So he's kind of like getting left in the dark a little bit. So what happens is that he notices this, tries to reach out to him. The guy is a little bit, standoffish, doesn't really want to talk to him, right? So what happens is that he gets invited to a party. Does not go, just so he can hang out with his friend and talk to him. It blends the teen drama, of high school so well with his evolution, as a martial artist. It's perfect. This movie is actually so good. Like, unironically, this movie fucking slaps. I love this movie. So this movie is a better representation of martial arts and combat sports than Warrior, than Southpaw, than Roadhouse combined, than Creed. Creed fucking sucked. Creed 2 was dog shit. I don't know if Rocky's good. I don't give a fuck about Rocky. That came out 20 years before I was fucking born. I don't give a fuck about Rocky. This shit's better than Rocky, and I'm not even gonna fucking watch Rocky to figure it out. So that's all I gotta say. Go watch, if you actually care about the martial arts in a movie, If you actually want to see someone not only, upgrade their skills, but change as a person and have their skills in martial arts reflect their humility, their growth, watch this fucking movie. It's brilliant. This can die in a fire. This can go fuck itself. This movie's alright, but it's not good. Alright, guys, well, thank you for tuning in. I know that was very ranty, but I'm very passionate about combat sports. I'm very passionate about writing. So when I see people kind of use martial arts and fighting in a way that is just so, I guess, distasteful, not like offensive, but just poor, just boring, just monotonous, it gets on my nerves. It bothers me. So if you like content like this, consider subscribing, consider commenting and liking and all that stuff. Thank you so much. Have a great one.